And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and I am going to be using Gar Saxon in the arena with Imperial Super Commando. Now, this is a work in progress. I am working on Gar Saxon and Imperial Super Commando. I have them both geared up to 11. I don't have all the extra pieces put in at gear 11, and they're both currently at 6 stars. I'm working on getting them to 7 stars, so they're not maxed completely, and I am on a shard or a leaderboard where everything's maxed out completely for the most part. So it's a little bit of a trial and error thing just to kind of see what Gar Saxon and Imperial Super Commando are all about. Also, I have their abilities all maxed except his leadership ability. Now, I wanted to go into that really quick. The only thing that he's not going to be able to do is when others use basic attacks, they recover health. Now, in an Empire team where you're having a lot of countering going on, where everyone's countering, then the additional health recovery makes sense because they're going to counter a lot on their basic, and every time they counter, they're going to gain health. This is kind of a direct counter to the Sith meta that was part of the meta and is still kind of part of the meta out there because of Sith Assassin and Sith Trooper, as well as Emperor Palpatine, all being able to do damage directly to health. And so because of that, this is a way to regain that health by simply using your basics, and with him as a lead, everybody's going to be countering with their basics, gaining that health. But I don't see it as a super high value with the Zeta materials for a couple reasons. One, there are other more important Zetas out there, and two, when you're in health damage, most of the time, we're not talking about the exception of the rule, which is the Sith, but every other team, by the time they get you into your health, it's too late. Your character is dying, so it's really too late. You're once they're down there, I mean, they've got 15,000-ish health left. They're really squishy, and anybody can pretty much one-hit them. So it's kind of a shame. I wish that they had this as 5% health and protection, so it would work with either direction. But anyway, it is what it is. I have not Zeta'd it. Let's go ahead and go through Gar really quick and talk about it. As far as his offensive nature and defensive nature, he's above average. And for free-to-play farmability, he is an in-game character. What I mean by that is you have to be able to get to the battles 8E and 8D to unlock and farm them, and that you have to be level 85, really 84, 85 to get up that high. So you're going to have to get up above level 80, unlock those nodes in the cantina at level 8 with your arena team to even be able to farm him. And then he's going to be 16 energy, which is the slowest grind in the game as far as that goes. So with that said, he's going to be free to play, and he's pretty friendly to farm for people such as myself who are in-game, but for people who are kind of mid-game, it will be a little bit harder. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And then also for gearing, they're a little bit below average. They actually have less raid gear. Raid gear goes from 1 to 7. They're only at 2, and their gold can go from 0 to 440, and they're only at 110 gold. And then for purple, most people are around 1100, and they're both close to that. Gar is at 1100 and Imperial Super Commando's at 14. So they're a little bit better than average on gearing. And as far as the overall fun factor, they're absolutely amazing. I love how fun a counter team is. I have one for my Jedi, but it is really nice to be able to have one for the Empire. So On the Hunt says it deals physical damage to a target enemy. So now we want to orient ourselves to what kind of a character this is, okay? First off, you look, it says Empire and Tank. Now, he's a non-taunting tank, which means that he is there to be durable and to bring something to the team that needs to be there through the duration of the fight. His basic is going to give a 70% chance to inflict speed down. That is a very cool ability. Slowing the other team down is always a benefit. It says if the target already has speed down, and we're going to assume that's a very good chance since he counters a lot and he applies this a lot, it will then reduce Gar Saxon's cooldowns by 1. So pretty cool every time he uses his basic. And if you have a counter team where, you know, 3 or 4 other people are countering, he gets 3 or 4 other turns, and with each of those, he has that chance of putting speed down, and the moment speed down is applied, now he has the chance to reduce cooldowns each and every single time he shoots that basic. So very, very cool. We'll see this in action in a minute. Calculated Ambush is his AoE, which is area of effect, meaning he's going to hit everybody. And it does, again, physical damage. So he's kind of like an attacker. I know they call him a tank, but he's really more of an attacker that has some special abilities. And it says he'll deal physical damage to all enemies, dealing double damage to enemies with less than 50% turn meter. So if they're not ready to take a turn yet, they're going to take double damage, which is important because this AoE does not do a ton of damage, neither does his basic. That is his biggest area of opportunity, is the amount of damage he deals. Now people can say he is a tank, so that's why he doesn't deal much damage, but he really, for all intents and purposes, is an attacker, and he has less than par attack capability. So he will do double damage, which is nice. At least he'll get extra damage. If they have more than 50% turn meter, 50% or more, they're going to lose 30% turn meter. So if they're at 80%, they're going to go to 50%. If they're at 50%, they're going to go to 20%. So he's a turn meter reducer. It's very, very efficient. When you have on the other side a team that is about to go, you use his AoE and everybody now has to wait for your turn because of your special ability. So very cool. Calculated Ambush is one of those things for the Empire that you can use to turn meter manipulate. We talked about the leadership ability in basics as far as what you lose without the Zeta, but if we take the Zeta away, it's pretty simple but cool. As a leader, he's going to give all Empire allies 50% counter chance. So he's going to increase all of their counter capability by 50%. And then he also gives all those Empire allies 40% defense. That's significant defense. That's a lot of damage compression that they're able to do. And Viceroy's Vengeance, which is his unique, says whenever another ally attacks during an enemy turn. Now, we want to remember what this says, ally. It doesn't say Empire ally, it just says ally. So whenever any other ally, that's the other 4 people on his side, attack during the enemy's turn, meaning that they're countering, right? This through retribution or counterattack, Saxon has a 100% chance to assist. It means every time somebody shoots out of turn on your side, he gets to assist, so you're getting a guaranteed hit. Now, pro, he gets to hit a lot. Con, he doesn't hit for much. Okay, so we're going to see that in action. Now let's go look at the Imperial Super Commando in just a second. Here's my overall view of Saxon. This is brand new. This is a brand new chart I just created. The 5-star rating I'm still doing as far as overall usability, and I have that chart, but for these little kind of quick in-depths on these characters, I wanted to showcase on a 10 scale kind of how good they are, so you can get a better understanding of how good they are overall for arena and raids and whatnot. So for offense, his strengths is he's a counterer and he can debuff. He's overall out of 10, he's a 7 out of 10 for the amount of damage capability offensively, how he can be utilized offensively through the turn meter reduction and speed down and all of his usability. For defense, he's overall a 6. He's better than average on a team defensively, but he can be beaten. For free-to-play farm ability, because he is an in-the-game character, you must keep an in-game mindset. You have to assume you've gotten to the point where you can unlock him and you're ready to farm him. And when that is the case, he is more free-to-play friendly than others because he's a Cantina node, which means you can dump as much as you need into him to farm him up. So I have him at 7 out of 10 for free-to-play farm ability. As far as gearing, I have him at 7 out of 10 because their arena raid gear and their gold gear is well below average and their purple is right around average. And lastly, for overall fun factor with the counter capability and the fact that this is non-meta Super exciting to play with something different than what everybody else plays with. I have them at a 9 out of 10 for fun. I hope you enjoy the video when you see it. Lastly, and really quick, I just wanted to go over how I modded Gar Saxon. So I know he's a tank, but he basically is just there to do a damage over and over and over on his basic. That's his counter specialty, is to be able to take 4 and 5 turns in a row. It's like really, really fun to watch. The problem is he does physical damage on his basic and physical damage on his special, and his physical damage is really low. It's at, without mods, like 2200, and he has an extremely low critical chance, which means he's almost never going to crit, and he's going to hit for 2k. 2,000, even if he hits 4 times, is only 8,000. This is really, really sad. This is again the reason why you don't see him in Arena currently. But if you can mod and get his critical chance, his physical critical chance, over 40% like I did, and get his physical damage up as high as possible, you can improve the amount of damage that he is dealing. Another stat you would need, of course, is speed, because he is going to be hopefully in your arena team, and he's going to need to be fast like the rest of the arena squad. So a good speed indicator for most characters is getting them somewhere in the ballpark of 200 if you're in a mid to end game shard. And he is a tank, but you notice he's just barely over 50,000 health and protection. That's even including the mods. So he's not a very tanky tank. He's about the same as a Stormtrooper Han. Now I do have him again only at 6 stars. He will grow a little bit health wise, and his base physical damage will go up a few hundred after we finish getting his last star. All right, that was Gar Saxon. Now we're with Imperial Super Commando. Again, gear 11. I have not put the extra pieces in him. His abilities, he has 3 abilities, a basic, a special, and a unique. On Seize the Advantage, just like Gar Saxon has a debuff on his basic, so does the Imperial Super Commando. On his basic, which he also does physical damage, he'll have a 70% chance to inflict offense down. So we're talking about speed down and offense down with this combo. That's great, slowing them down and making them do less damage. Pretty cool kit. It also says, and attack again if the target has less than 50% turn meter. So if Gar reduces everybody's turn meter and then this guy does his basic, what's going to happen is he's going to get that second shot guaranteed, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of that synergy with these 2 individuals. His special has a cooldown of only 2, which is very nice. He gets to use this a lot. It's called Superior Tactics, and this is a clutch capability. This is very cool. It does physical damage just like all the others, but he's going to dispel all buffs on him. So he's a dispeller, a target dispeller. Means he'll dispel one individual, just like, you know, Chirrut or Baze or whoever you want. But let's pretend it's Baze for this. Then it's going to inflict buff immunity for 2 turns. And it doesn't say it has a chance of buff immunity. It just says it will inflict buff immunity. And as you'll see in a minute, it does, in fact, inflict buff immunity after removing all of their buffs. This is an excellent ability, especially when you're going against General Kenobi's, Bazes, Shore Troopers, anything where that auto taunt or that ability to taunt often keeps popping up and irritating you. This is a very nice ability. It also does decent damage. And then his unique upper hand says that Imperial Super Commando has a 65% counter chance and gains 15% offense for every enemy with no buffs. So if you're going against a team and you're able to remove the buffs that they have, every single individual across the way can give him this offense, which is up to 75% more offense, which is significant. A thought process here would be to use him with the B2 battle droid, so that way you can constantly dispel. Have Baze maybe in your team. Baze can dispel all of the buffs on the other side. So with that, he's going to make himself much stronger in his hitting the opposing team. Now, keep in mind, if he's ran under Gar Saxon gives him defense 40% and another additional 50% counter chance, which puts him well above the 100% threshold, which means he has a 100% counter chance. Again, he is at 6 stars, so some of this will improve, but let's take a look at his stats. Again, he does physical damage just like Gar Saxon, so we're going to look at those stats. He has health and protection basically as high as Gar Saxon, so they're both around 50,000 with health and protection. His speed, he is a slower character. I was able to get up to about 190 almost. Again, the goal would be more looking at 200. I got his critical damage up because he is an attacker. We want him to do as much critical damage as possible. His potency is pretty high, over 70%, and his physical damage and critical chance are okay. His critical chance is good. It's over 40%, but his physical damage leaves something to be desired. It's even worse than Gar Saxon. Now, I know that the developers think that with the debuffs, give him up to 75% more offense, that it's going to significantly improve his offensive capability. But in this game, there are so many buffs and so many teams that have buffs that is very difficult for him to truly gain that aspect. And so because of that, the two biggest issues really is just his damage output capability, and then the fact that he is combined only 50,000 health and protection. He's not a super durable character when you look at the scheme of things in comparison to some of the other characters being utilized right now in Arena. Overall offense, I would have him at 7 for his ability for debuffing and his counter, his overall capability in Arena. It's not overpowered, but it's also a little better than average. For defense, it's a little bit worse. When he's on defense, you're going to fall more than an average team up in the top 50. But for a new player, someone who's free to play, who's been playing for 6 months or less, he's going to do better than an average team you may be farming. Again, it will be hard to get him at that point because he is an in-game farming character. I have him at 6 on defense. For free-to-play farmability, we're keeping in mind that you can access his node. So once you can access his node, I would put him at 7 out of 10 for free-to-play farmability, meaning that it's relatively easy to get him. Yes, it is not as easy as some characters due to the fact that it's a 16 energy node. And for gearing, I have him at 7 out of 10, meaning that he's better than average for sure. With the gearing, he's got less raid gear need and less gold gear need with an average purple gear need. And then lastly, for fun, I have him rated 9 out of 10 just because he's not meta, he's unique, he's different, no one uses him, and it's super fun to have a counter team that isn't a Jedi team. I will be doing a video on the Gauntlet Starfighter, which will be extremely fun. I do want to finish off the crew abilities. They're currently at 3. It will take about a week to be able to get the rest of the pieces, and it's currently at 6 stars, so we'll see where I have it in a week, and I'll probably do a video this time next week on their ship. All right, we are going to go into Arena. We're going to fight a triple cleanse team that has a Thrawn replacing its General Kenobi, but it still has a Rex lead, it still has Darth Nihilus and Triton Baze, and this is an overpowered team. Everything is completely and utterly maxed out. My team is not. I do not have my leadership Zeta, and these two guys are at 6 stars, and I do not have all of their level 11 gear in, but this is the team I'm going to showcase. Now, I've got 3 Empire characters. I do have Grand Admiral Thrawn, I do have Gar Saxon as the lead, and I have Imperial Super Commando, so we can see their synergy and combination. This will also give 40% defense to Thrawn. The counter chance is wasted because Thrawn already has 100% counter chance. Now, I could mix it with a couple other Empire, but I wanted to have 5 allies countering every time, and we know with Triton Baze they have a auto counter automatically and they both attack, so I wanted to have 5 people countering, which would give us the ability to really see Gar in action doing his counter attacks. Pretty exciting. In addition to that, I do have to be realistic. I'm going against some of the most overpowered teams in the game, and I have to be able to survive or I won't be able to showcase Gar Saxon and Imperial Super Commando if I take in a team that is not as strong, in my opinion, as the other team. So let's see these guys in action. All right, so the first thing we see is they have 1 auto taunter, and this is where Thrawn definitely comes into play. We're going to go ahead and take their Baze out of this fight so we can start to work on their Darth Nihilus. That's the only person across the way that is a significant threat in this game. let's go ahead and clean our debuffs off. And let's go ahead and do a double attack to Darth Nihilus. And of course, they fracture my Gar Saxon, which is a dang shame. We got a double attack right there with the Imperial Super Commando because he had less than 50% turn meter. Now let's go ahead and do the buff immunity over Chirrut for right now. It took all his buffs. It did not apply the buff immunity. Look at all that countering. That was super fun. Alright, we'll go back to Darth Nihilus. We don't want him to take us out. 35, 35. He attacked twice because he had less than 50% turn meter. And Gar finally gets a turn. He critted for 4,000. This feels like I'm playing with the Ewoks. Let's finish him off. Alright. Now we can finish off Chirrut. And move to Rex. Let's put a buff immunity over Baze. There we go. It finally applied. I had very good luck with the buff immunity applying pretty much 100% of the time. Let's go ahead and cleanse Gar Saxon. And let's do the AoE. Look at everybody has more turn meter than 50%. So this AoE will remove 30% turn meter from their entire team. And it didn't work, which means something is not right in the game, because that should have applied that turn meter. Lovely. Love all that countering. That's the whole point of this team. Again, 2 to 4,000. It's very sad, the amount of damage that they do. That's the one opportunity I see for sure. And there we go. You can see I still have quite a bit of health and protection on 3 characters, and we survived, and offensively we tore through this team, and this is a very overpowered, maxed out team. So offensively, like I said, a 7 out of 10, not bad. Defensively, about 6 out of 10. You will probably fall farther than you desire when you're using this team. All right, because I want to showcase the good, the bad, and the ugly, I am going to go ahead and go against this team. This is a Darth Vader-led team, and it is devastating. It has Death Trooper, Nihilus, Thrawn, Shore Trooper. It's a devastating Empire team for sure. Let's go ahead and I'm going to swap with the Imperial Super Commando, and then I'm going to apply the buff immunity over Shore. I was afraid of that. There's some attacks. Wow. Everybody attacked, so he got 4 attacks in. Let's go ahead and keep going with Death Trooper. Dang it. This looks really bad with all of the debuffs. Gar Saxon is not doing well. We gotta take out Darth Vader so we can get these silly buffs off. Gotta at least heal. Alright, let's go ahead and try and get Grand Admiral Thrawn down a little bit. And look at all the speed down that's been applied. Pretty nice. It's kind of like taking their speed mods off of their characters. There was turn meter reduction. Very good. Alright, let's fracture Darth Nihilus. We're going to start trying to take Darth Nihilus out of here. All that extra attack is so much fun. Man, Even if you're struggling, it's still just ridiculously fun. Ah, didn't get him in time. Almost, though. There's some turn meter reduction. Fractured him. Let's go ahead and put buff immunity up. Ah, it didn't apply. Got the double attack. Let's go ahead and give some protection back to Churret. That will ability block him, and with all the extra attacks, that almost took him out. And there we go. So without the Nihilist, we almost went 5-0. Decent. If you're looking for a good team, the one he was playing is a good team for sure. So what are your thoughts about Gar Saxon? He is extremely fun to play with the Imperial Super Commando, and I don't have him completely finished. But leave your comments down below as to whether you think he's arena viable. He is definitely arena viable in the early to mid game. At end game, he's not going to create a defensibility that you're looking for, although we are in a current meta situation where nothing is defensible. Basically, anyone can beat anyone. That's right. As always, make sure you keep your gaming on. Warrior, out.